Alright, hello everyone. Sorry I didn't stream yesterday, first and foremost. Just a lot, I had to do a couple stuff, yesterday, and I kind of just lost track of time, so I decided I'd do a makeup stream for today. So yeah, that's why I'm streaming today. So, but yeah, something did, though, hit me within a thing. I was gonna, originally play Last of Us, but again, like I said, busyness, so my makeup stream is going to be a podcast today, because something came to me, quite, I guess, I don't know, alarmingly quickly, last night, a little bit, like, maybe, like, an hour or so before I went to bed, and then just, I don't know, it prompted, obviously, the title of the stream, but, it just kind of went me, I kind of didn't put the name on there, but also revivals as well, but I think reboots, such remakes, sequels like that kind of go in the same category. But, yeah, so, last night, like, it wasn't late, but it was late enough where, like, again, I was starting to get little, EPs, and I just, scrolling around YouTube, just doing my usual thing, and all of a sudden I see something, and it's very alarming, because of how I saw it and everything. In the short little category, it had something about Totally Spies. And if you don't know me, I watched a lot of Totally Spies growing up. It's one of my kind of nostalgic shows that, like, people have talked about, but I wouldn't say in the negative light, but not the positive light in recent years, because of the whole, very house fetishy it was back in the day, which, I mean, I can't deny that after seeing a lot of the videos. I think Saberspark, who does, talks about animation and, analyzes it and reviews it and all that, kind of made a whole point about how it, was very fetishy. And I'm like, yeah, I can't deny that. I cannot deny that one because, yeah, very, podcast already going weird? Okay, sorry. I thought my stream just died. That my internet's not doing great. So, hold on. There we go. Let's see. I think my stream died straight up for a second. Okay. I don't know if any of that skipped. But anyway, long story short, saw people on YouTube talking about it and all that back in the day. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty fetishy. But I still have nostalgia for it because I still think Totally Spies is still, like, a fun show to watch if you, look past that kind of whole ordeal. But yeah, so the last time I watched Totally Spies was, like, back in, like, the late 2000s, I guess early 2010s, from what I've concurred from what I've done, because I guess it's getting revived a bit for, like, a 7th season, which I didn't even know there were, like, 7 seasons. I kind of, like, thought at one point in my life was that it only had, like, 3 to 4 seasons, which it did, but then it kind of got revived a little bit back in, like, 2010 or something for a season 5, and I kind of vaguely remember seeing a little bit of it, but, like, not a lot of it, because I was like, okay, weird, because it was a little different, because I think they were, like, going to university or something at that point, from what I read up on the thing. But I was like, okay, whatever. Then they had a season 6, which I think it ended, like, around 2015 or so, I think, from what I saw. And I was like, cool, whatever, okay, that's that. People said it was, like, hit or miss, that season. But then, again, I saw season 7, and this is where I got a little irked. Because the thing was, I wouldn't have cared as much if it was just, like, it looked like what I'm used to, right? Like, the older animation style. But it had a newer animation style. And that's where I went, huh? Because I think if it was the older animation style, I would have just been like, oh, it's got the Lazy Town thing, where I didn't realize it went on longer than I expected. Because Lazy Town went on a lot longer than I expected, where the thing is, like, when people were doing memes of Lazy Town back in the day, it was a lot of the stuff that I didn't really know about, because it was after I way long stopped watching it, because I was not a toddler or whatever anymore. I was not part of the demographics, so all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know these references, but they're cool and fun anyway. Lazy Town is still Lazy Town, Still unhinged as I remembered, kind of thing. And, of course, we can talk about, the, gotta do the cooking by the book. That's the one I know. That was there I watched, of Lazy Town, so seeing the remix of that always made me laugh, because I just knew the song. That way. Again, great mashup. Weird that it's good, but it's a good mashup. I don't care. But, yeah, Totally Spies, though, I didn't realize I don't know, like, I don't know. I should have probably prompted and brought up more things so I can actually show you guys what I'm talking about, but pretty much essentially, actually, I can, hold on. let me show you the short little clip. I'm gonna mute it. For obvious reasons, I don't want to get copyright claimed that way. For if it has music that'll get me copyrighted, but like I'll show you like a couple seconds of it just so you can understand where I was coming from. So imagine, like I said, it's late night. You're vibing, you know? It's getting late. You're probably, like, winding down for the night. And, you know, all of a sudden... Oh, stop making sound. Stop making sound. I said mute. There you go. I said mute. I wanted it muted. Oh, I just paused it. Well, that's fine. Still muting and all that. So you heard a bit of it. You heard a bit of it. But, yeah. So, okay. Back to my prompting of what I was talking about. Actually, I could even do this better. It's late night, you're vibing, you're chilling, you know, you're winding down for the night, and all of a sudden you see, you know, you scroll to the YouTube Shorts page, and you're like, okay, well, maybe I can watch like a short or two before I go to bed, right, you know, that's fine, nothing wrong about that, and then, all of a sudden, you're just like, wait a minute, you scroll through and you see something that is very alarming. And it's this. What's I see my subscribers who subscribed here. You know. But you see this thumbnail, right? And you're like, wait a minute, I know who that is. I've seen that character a lot of times in my childhood. But why does it look different? What is this? And obviously I'll mute, but then you click on it, and I'm like, okay, Sam, what? What is happening? What is this? Why does it look like this? What is happening? Why is the animation different? This is not what I grew up with. What is happening? Like, huh? Also, another gripe I have. I will play like a half a second of her voice, because this is a thing that irks me the most, and I had to do like a lookup thing to make sure I was correct about like who does the voice of Sam.
What? I finished quantum physics before breakfast.
That's not Jennifer Hale! I'm sorry, I had to scream that tonight. That's not Jennifer Hale! Sam was one of my favorite characters in the series, and you didn't get Jennifer Hale? What? Anyway, back to this, anyway. The normal screen and all that. But it's like, obviously I realized that the whole screen capture looked probably very, glitchy and all that, but it's fine. So point is, I see that, and I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What are you talking about? What? This is not what I grew up with. Look, I've, like, over the years, have been like, alright, you know, Animaniacs, you know, came back, and people were, like, excited about it, I was cool about it, you know, some people were, like, hit and miss when it came to, like, certain other shows coming back, you know, that way. I've seen them all. I've been through them all the different reboots or remakes, revivals, stuff like that, you know. And I've been like, all right, you know, I've tolerated them. You know, may even enjoyed some of the ones. But this is where, like, I've drawn my line, because I think this is where, like, my nostalgic, like, thing, like, hits super hardcore, because I think not as many people, like, really talk about Totally Spies often, and it's definitely a thing that's, like, more, like, my nostalgia kind of thing. It's not everyone's nostalgia, but it's, like, some people's nostalgia. I'm not saying it's no one's nostalgia, but, you know, it's specifically one of my nostalgic, you know, shows I watched a lot growing up. That's, like, a little different than everyone else's. It's not like you're not gonna hear, like, for example, like, this was a show that was on Cartoon Network, like, you know, so it's not like you're gonna hear people talk about, like, oh, like, Foster's Home, or, Adventures of Billy and Mandy, you know, Grimm's Adventures of Billy and Mandy, or Ed, Edd n Eddy, or, like, Powerpuff Girls, or things like that. I can go on and on. The Powerpuff Girls reboot was terribly awful. That one did annoy me quite greatly, but I think because I didn't have, like, such a stronghold nostalgia on it, I was, like, I tolerated it. But, like, this is the thing where, like, again, not everyone's gonna be like, yes, this is my nostalgia, this is my thing, you know, kind of thing. Like, again, Totally Spies is, like, this is specifically, like, a nostalgic thing I remember watching, and if I mention it to some people either have, like, a vague memory of it, or just not, like, really talk about it as much. You know, like, it's rare when I find something and be like, oh, yeah, I watched Totally Spies just as much as, you know, as, like, the other shows growing up, you know, kind of thing, right? So, I think this is where my, like, okay, no, you know, kind of moment goes in really hardcore with it. And it's like, again, if it was like the same animation style and the same voice actors, and so I think it might be some of the same voice actors, but it's like, I don't know. That's the only one they have. I don't know if they have another one where they showed like Irish or Clover either. I don't know if their voices are the same. I guarantee not, though. If they didn't bother getting Jennifer Hale, they didn't get the others. You know, that's all I'm saying. But it just kind of it rubbed me the wrong way immediately. Good again. If it was just the same voice actors and the same animation styles before, I wouldn't have even noticed or cared. I would have just been like, oh, they're still kicking. I didn't realize that. Good for them. You know, like, I would have been like, or if it was a revival, like, oh, cool. They kept it, like, somewhat the same, but it's like, it's such a completely different style. It's such the cheap animation thing that, like, really gets to me, because I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's not the worst animation ever. The designs are there, and clearly you can tell it's them, but there's something about how, like, they were moving and walking in the scenes that just felt uncanny to me, and I'm like, I don't know. Okay. Like, the whole point, I think the style was supposed to be, it looked like comic book kind of, like, inspired-ish, you know? Kind of, like, it had, like, in between, like, comic book style / like, kind of, like, the Western kind of animation stuff that was coming out at the time, like, with Avatar and Teen Titans and stuff like that, had, like, that, but, like, a little bit more, like, westernized, and I think more, like I said, like, more, like, you'd see something from it, like, a comic book kind of thing. So, like, it had, like, unique, like, style. Now it looks like everything else that is nowadays. That's kind of the problem I think I have. It just looks like everything else. And that's not great to me. I'm not, again, I don't wholly vibe with that, really. I don't know. So, yeah, but it makes me, like, a question. It makes me wonder, like, has reboots and remakes and sequels and revivals and yada yada yada, you know, have, like, gone too far? And it's like, I mean, here's the thing. The answer I put probably in there, but I think the more answer is, I think yes. Because here's the thing, right? And I think this is where I think my issue lies with, like, a lot of this in general, because it made me think about it, and it made me go, you know, okay, I don't mind certain reboots or revivals if it, like, warrants it. Like, if it's a series that, like, got cut off too soon, that, like, has an actual, like, ongoing storyline, that, like, you know, was stopped right dead center in the middle of it and never got its ending and never got its last, you know, hurrah, you know, kind of thing, then, yeah, I'm like, cool. You know what? Yeah, revive that. You know, finish it off, you know, right? Nothing wrong with that, you know? People are hit or miss with Samurai Jack. I still think, honestly, it's cool that it even got an end at all. You know, even if people are, like, kind of miss with how they kind of went with it, I still think it was not bad. There's worser things, you know? Like, it was good. I think it was good for what it was. That way, it's been a hot while since I've seen the ending, that way, but yeah, like, I enjoyed it enough where it was like, yeah, you know, I think that one warranted it. People have been for years asking for Teen Titans to have its final season, to have an actual proper final seasons, you know, end the story off, or at least have a more roundabout end than what they did with the initial series. Just something. I mean, technically that's kind of what the movie was for, was that kind of last hurrah, but I think people really want, like, the series itself to have, like, a nice, like, kind of, you know, bow tie, you know, kind of wrapped up nicely, neatly in a box, you know, kind of feel. Instead, people got a reboot, you know, a remake kind of thing with Teen Titans Go that people didn't want. And the thing is, I kind of understand the phenomenon of Teen Titans Go now, in the sense of why people were so mad. And it wasn't the fact that, again, it got rebooted. I think, I mean, that ticked people off. But more along the lines of, it was a series that never had a proper final ending, and that needed a proper final ending, but didn't, and instead became very childish and very, like, completely, like, taken from what it was at its core and just turned into something similar to SpongeBob and all that. And I think that's what people were, like, more upset about. People were more upset about the fact that they never got their ending than I think the fact that, like, they kind of ruined their quote-unquote, you know, childhood show, right? But it's like, I think people have gotten more, like, understanding of, like, Teen Titans Go, or at least the understanding that it's not gonna get canceled or go anywhere anytime soon. Kids enjoy watching it, and that's just that, you know, and there's nothing you can do about it. But the thing is, it's like, I've kind of sat with that for a while and kind of realized, like, okay, I think I understand where the issue comes from. I will say, pretty scummy of them for, like, you know, having, like, the Teen Titans thing, you know, the OG Teen Titans, and say, yeah, we're gonna have a final season if this thing does well, and then they just ghosted. That's a little bit of you know, just kind of not a good vibe. It does not feel good. It feels like very manipulation tactic of getting people who didn't want the series to exist in the first place to watch it only just because, you know, they can hope one day that maybe the OG will get like its last hurrah, but like I don't know. They would have to have like pretty good reason for it, but if they're probably gonna do it, I can see like they did with Samurai Jack and have an Adult Swim type of situation with it. I think that'd work the best anyway. But yeah, I don't know. That's was kind of like that encounter. Obviously, I mentioned Powerpuff Girls had a reboot back in 2016, and that was just god awful in itself. And like, but like that series, at least it's a series that kind of is like an ongoing kind of like it didn't need like a final season kind of quote unquote kind of thing. It rebooted. It's fine. I mean, God forbid, Ben 10 has how many different spin-off shows at that point? So, like, it being rebooted kind of, like, again, didn't surprise me. At that point, there was enough of them where I was like, eh. Doesn't mean I like it, though. I was not the biggest fan of that one either. But I think a lot of the times, my problem with, like, my problem with reboots is if it was fine the way it was and like could have kept the style, the same humor and everything like that, why did it need to be changed drastically? And you can't say the modern audience is changing, because it's like it's not. I don't think that's it at all, because it's like, again, if it's something simple as, okay, you know, with the Powerpuff Girls, very simple premise of, you know, they're girls in kindergarten, and they go and they're superhero little girls who fight crime and save the day, and you know have to get home, you know, and do homework and get to bed, you know, kind of like in their you know before their bedtime and all that kind of thing. Like that's the whole point, you know. That's the whole point of the characters. But it's like when you start trying to structure it in such a different way. Like, again, for example, with Teen Titans, is like they just don't fight crime really anymore. They just kind of goof around, which is like, but that's the whole premise of Teen Titans in the first place. Like, even if it's still, like, they can still goof around, they did goof around still and fight crime, but it's like, okay, weird. And it's like they're almost like afraid to like touch upon like any fighting in these shows anymore, because it's like, I think now a lot of like, if they're having to fight bad guys and stuff like that, it's story based, which I guess it can be, but it's like it doesn't have to be either. Like, I don't understand. Like, revivals work too. Again, like Invader Zim had its like movie revival, and so did Rocko's Modern Life, and it did really well. And sorry, and also Arnold as well. Hey Arnold, like, had their I mean, again, hit or miss with a couple of them, but like for the most part, like they did well, and it makes sense. Arnold needed kind of its last hurrah. Invader Zim, while it didn't need one, it was still fun to kind of just have something like it, but like at least it kept in the same vein as, like, I mean, yeah, the animation style was updated a bit, but you can tell it was still Invader Zim. Same with Rocko's Modern Life. It didn't need a little movie like thing from to wrap up the kind of show, but it did it, and again, it kept the style. I think if it's true to what it was before, then I think it's not bad. I think that goes with Animaniacs. I think that's why like modern Animaniacs works decently well. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, but I think it does okay. Modern Animaniacs, because it's like, it's, again, for it being a revival, it still kind of has the same charm, the same kind of style. Again, the only thing is updated animation, but it's not like drastically like so different that I'm like, oh my god, this is such a different series. It's like, no, it's the same series. It's just, again, just modernization. Technology has changed so much. It's using digital animations probably instead of just hand drawn. That's probably like the really difference and why it looks so different. The lines and everything look very, crispy and all that, nice and good and all that. But again, I'm just not into it when it just doesn't make sense to me. Where making a reboot is like to a point where like you're changing it like too much. Because there has been reboots again that have worked in the past. That I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's okay. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, like, are you doing it because you actually want the modern, like, a modern audience to get into the same thing you grew up watching, or like these people grew up watching. You know, you want these parents or cousins or whatever, kids or whatever, you know, whatever, uncles, aunts, that kind of thing, like, get into the same shows that you did growing up, but like make it for, like, you know, the, you know, that audience, but still have the same, like, good feel vibe of, like, you know, welcoming the people who watched it originally. Like, that's cool. That's fantastic. Do that. But if you're doing a very cash grabbing money, you know, kind of thing, and you're changing it because you don't think anyone will like it if it had the original appeal, so you have to make it as modern meme type of, you know, whatever hit with the kids, you know, kind of concept, then there's no point. Don't do it, is my point. Because it's like, then there's no heart, there's no soul in it. Get something original. Make it a new thing with that concept premise that you have, but don't use older characters and market it. That just isn't right to me. It doesn't sit right. It works, but it doesn't sit right with me. And it's like, I was talking to, like, that's something similar about this. I forgot of what, but I think I was just saying how, like, in general, I just don't like what they're doing with this kind of thing. And it's like, well, it makes them money. It's like, I don't care if it makes them money, is the point. I'm tired of being like, well, it makes money. And it's like, yeah, it makes money, but it doesn't make, you know, people happy. You're exploiting people in the end of the day, you know, that kind of thing too. So you're gonna make animators, you know, work really hard, and, like, doesn't people work really hard and then have their, you know, being exploited just because you're gonna make it nostalgic for other audiences instead of having something original and new. I don't know. Like, it's insane, just to me. And, like, this doesn't even go into, like, animation. This goes on, like, media in general. Like, just in general. Because, God forbid, the amount of movie sequels that we're seeing recently is ridiculous. Like, my God, Despicable Me 4 is coming out soon. Kung Fu Panda 4 came out recently, too. Did terribly. They had, like, a Megamind thing movie or whatever that did so poorly because it was so cheaply made. Because clearly it was trying to cash grab. When no one asked for another Megamind movie. I don't think, you know, people were like, you know, Megamind needs another movie, you know, and if people did, it's like, well, this is not what they wanted in general, but it's like, Toy Story is getting Toy Story 5. Toy Story should have ended at Toy Story 3. I'm sorry, it was fine. I have not watched Toy Story 4 because I refused to, because Toy Story 3 had a nice wrap-up ending. It doesn't need more. What more can possibly become out of toys that are alive and walking and talking? Like, how many adventures are they gonna get on before someone just gets suspicious about that and be like, you know, Toy's alive. Like, you know what? If Toy Story 5 isn't them finding out that toys are alive, that I don't know, you know, if it's worth anything, alright, you know? Because that's the thing. Maybe that's where, you know, you can catch me with, like, okay, maybe that's an interesting concept. You know, it's like, you know what? People find out toys are alive. That's it. That's how it ends. Everyone finds out toys are alive and they're exploited. I don't know. Just like humans are. Like, I don't know, man. I don't understand it, and it's really annoying me. Like, Inside Out 2, I know has been, like, in the talks and works for, like, a long time. And it's doing well, at least. But I think that's because people actually cared about that movie and wanted. You can't just make a movie about that talks about, like, really, like, big and deep emotions and, like, do bad on it, because then it just makes you look very, you know, that just looks bad in general. Again, if you're trying to teach a lesson to just people in general that your emotions are valid, yet having a movie that would be bad, you know, with that just doesn't look good on you. So it's like I have to kind of do well with a movie like that. So I get that one. But it's just like there's so many, and Shrek is getting Shrek 5. Why? Just because Shrek has been doing well recently in the last, like, decade doesn't mean, like, we need another movie. I mean, Puss in Boots had another movie, but, like, it's like marginally 10 times better than the first movie, so it's like I forgive it in the sense that, like, you know, I always, you know, almost it's one of those, like, oh yeah, Puss in Boots, like, the first Puss in Boots movie, like, actually, you know, exists. You know, this second one, you know, it didn't just, you know, materialize somewhere out of nowhere. You know, there was a first movie, but, like, I just, like, don't get me wrong, I don't, like, dislike the first movie, but it's just, like, there's just a drastically different tone, you know, with, I mean, talking about, we're gonna go and, you know, betrayal of best friends, you know, route kind of thing, like, but, like, it's goofy and fun comedy versus death, you know, kind of the second one, you know, fearing of death, because that's, you know, the most relatable thing ever, you know, just ever. kind of thing. I mean, like, personification of literal death, you know, is like, Jesus Christ moment there. But, like, again, if it warrants it, if you have a good story and there's more story to tell and, like, it makes sense, then fine. But, like, making sequels upon sequels is just so tiring. People don't want that, man. I don't know. And I don't even know what to blame, because the thing is, this concept has been around for such a long time, but I think this last decade, it's, like, been pumping out, like, so many sequels recently, it's, like, not even funny. Like, Moana's getting a sequel, which I didn't think Moana needed a sequel. I just didn't think so. I didn't care enough to, I mean, it's a good movie, but I didn't really be like, you know, Moana needed another movie, you know? I never once thought that. At all. I don't know. The sad part is, it's like, I'm thinking about, like, Incredibles, right? Like, Incredibles, like, everyone wanted a sequel to that, too. And then the sequel did alright. It wasn't, like, what people were expecting, but it wasn't, like, you know, I don't know. Like, people were just kind of disappointed, I think, in that realm. And then people were talking about, like, if they were going to do, like, Incredibles 3, they should, like, change a lot of things, age up the characters, all that. That's the thing. I read for, like, Despicable Me that they are, like, deciding that they're never gonna age the characters. It's, like, a whole, like, Simpsons situation. I'm like, for TV shows, you're allowed to do that because every week there's a new episode kind of situation, versus movies taking years to come out, and it's a noticeable thing of, like, how long it takes. You kind of have to age up characters, at least in some way, because it's, like, even if it's just a year difference in our time, you know? Like, a year difference can be a lot, you know? But, like, not aging up characters is not a good idea, because it's, like, it just, for movies at least, because it's, like, it's so noticeable that it makes you kind of weirded out, because it's, like, do these characters grow or change or have learned anything? Like, for a TV show, that's not a thing I ask, because, like, for something like Simpsons, because, again, weekly there's an episode coming out. Obviously, between, seasons, I'm not counting, but just in general, when a whole season comes out, weekly episodes are coming out, so I'm not going, you know, why has Bart and, like, Lisa not, like, grown up, you know, is the point. Because it's, like, it's a weekly thing. It's a constant, like, you know, thing, you know, that's happening, versus movies take years. You're not, like, seeing them, you know, practically every week. You're seeing them, like, every 4 so years, you know, like, give or take. I don't know how long. I mean, that's probably about right. That's probably how long it takes to make a movie or so. Maybe, like, 4 or 5 years. Between, you know, kind of thing. And it's not like you're having a moment where it's, like, stopping and starting, like, a, you know, like a cliffhanger, like, with, like, Across the Spider-Verse and all that, where, like, you know, obviously, you know, a couple years, you know, like, obviously, like, next year or so, I think. I don't know, actually. I don't have an official date, I don't think, when, Across the Spider-Verse Part 2 is coming out. The second part of that. I don't know when that's coming out, but let's just say next year. So, but it's, like, it's, you know, been, like, a 2-year stint. No one's gonna go, huh, how come, like, Miles hasn't aged, you know? But Miles did age between movies, though, is the point. Since, like, between, like, 2018 and 2023, when it came out, like, yeah, Miles and everyone aged a bit. So it's, like, you know, you have to do it, I feel like, in some fashion, at least a bit. Even if it's not drastic, it's not like, you know, all of a sudden they're adults, you know, like, that would be realistic. You know, it's only been, like, a year difference, but at least it's something. It's something. You know, a year could be quite drastic anyway. But, like, I don't know. Like, I'm just rambling at this point, but, like, I don't know. Like, sequels and things like that, to me, are getting way out of hand, and I think it's no wonder, like, the industry itself right now is imploding, because it's, like, people have so many original ideas, but they have nowhere to go with them, and so they're kind of stuck in this, like, loop of having to, like, create, like, you know, nothing original, and it is, I don't know, it's very sad and disappointing, and it makes you just go, you know, where's the originality? Where's something that's unique, you know? Like, I don't know, like, it bothers me. Like, we've gotten, like, outside, like, animation, like, in other media too, but we've gotten, like, some, like, interesting things, you know, like, your last couple of years that have, like, very much been, like, unique and interesting. I mean, we had the Barbieheimer, kind of situation with Barbie and Oppenheimer, movies, and they did really well, and they were both like unique and interesting in their own way, and how they were doing storytelling and everything. Two completely different types of movies, but they were doing well because they were original and unique and everything. And I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once recently again, and that came out like in 2022, I believe. I think, if I'm correct, yeah, in 2022. So it's like, in 2022. So, and that movie still holds up very well. It's still fun. It's still really like good since I watched it in theaters. That's how long ago it's been. I watched it in theaters originally, and it's only been recent since I rewatched it again. But it's still good of a movie, and it's still fun, and it's very original and unique. It's out of every like multiversal movie I've seen, it's the best one so far because it actually like leans into the multiversal thing like fully. Is the point. It understands how like to make the multiverse like, like interesting. Like, yes, it's complicated, but it's not like the most overly complicated thing. I feel like Marvel has overly complicated it more than like Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I was also saying like, well, Marvel has to have a consistent, following with the other stories and stuff like that. And it's like, I get it has to connect to other things, but like also you could have been more cohesive with it. The problem was they could have done it that way, but they shot themselves in the foot because they didn't know what they were doing. They just kind of landed into the multiversal thing because it was like popular at the time, but they didn't have an idea what they were doing. It's only now that they're kind of making a bit more sense of it now. I've not watched Deadpool and Wolverine, the third Deadpool movie, so please no spoilers of that. But like I don't know what they done with that, but it seems like they're trying to fix it. They're trying to do it right, but it's like, I don't know. But also, I saw recently that they announced, like, Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom again, and I'm like, why? Doctor Doom again. No, Robert Downey Jr. is coming back to the MCU as Doctor Doom, and I'm like, why? Some people are excited about it. I am not. I don't know. That's its own video. That's its own, like, stream of, like, just how the MCU is going at this rate. I think I've made a sort of thing about it, but, like, I think I need to, like, make an update one of, like, how do I feel about MCU now? Say, I don't know. I think I need a little bit more time. I probably need to watch, like, obviously, the third Deadpool movie, Brave New World, that's coming out, I think, next year. And, see, like, the Deadpool, the Daredevil series to kind of tell you how I feel, I think once I watch those things, I can come back and be like, so this is what I think, about what Marvel's doing now, kind of situation. Until then, I'll hold off kind of completely, but I could go into the past stuff fully, for sure. But yeah, the thing is too, like, I just don't understand why we can't be original. I mean, I do understand why we can't be original, because it's one of those money, like, what makes money is good for us all, and it's like, no, it isn't. But I don't know. I want there to be a point where we can feel comfortable enough to just not have to lead into, like, having to make a sequel, or having to make a remake of something, or a rebooting, or a revival of some sort if the revival doesn't need it, kind of thing. Or just doesn't need it in general, I guess. Because sequels can exist. I'm not saying sequels can't exist. They can. If they have merit or reason to exist, then they can exist. Reboots, if it's something that was made, like, 2 or 3 decades ago, then, like, why not? Give it a new, fresh spin to it, Yeah, like, that's fine, Revive something if it never had a proper end, kind of thing. Like, it has to have reasons, like, I'm a person, like, something has to have a reason for it to continue that way. A sequel can happen if you had the story plan, or you have it left off at a point where, like, people are wondering what happens next, kind of thing. What more story, if you have more story to tell that makes sense and is cohesive, than to everything, then, you can do it. If you have, again, like, a thing that hasn't, been touched upon for, like, 20-30 years, then yeah, make a reboot of it. Why not? You're in realm to do so, at that point, if it works. Revise something, again, if it didn't have, like, a proper end, it's just, I don't know, like, it's frustrating. And the thing is, the gaming industry frustrates me with the remaking of things too, because I'm not really such a much important word remakes, because remakes morph into the gaming industry, kind of, because it's like you see like the remaster of, you know, remaster, it goes into my same vein a little bit, but like there's so many like remakes and like remasters recently in the gaming thing. It's insane too. So like I said, media in general has a problem with this right now. Also, fun part about that, you know, the gaming industry is also on strike, you know, again. Like, it hasn't even been a decade yet, you know, and they're on strike again. Which, honestly, again, full support, by the way. I'm fully backing the strike, like 100%. You know, just, again, actors and, like, writers and people like that need to be, like, appreciated for their work they do in the industry. Any of the industry in general. But, you know, the gaming industry at this moment, like, they're feeling unsupported. No one wants to agree to contracts because, God forbid, we're doubling down for AI for some reason, which is ridiculous, and I'm so tired of that whole ordeal of companies exploiting, you know, voice actors and writers and all that in general by just using AI because it's cheaper, you know. And it's like, yeah, it's cheaper, but also it isn't morally correct. You're just taking people's like jobs away that they've worked hard in years to do. And it's ridiculous. It's like we're really gonna die on the hill of AI, aren't we? That's kind of silly, you know, in its own way. But again, that's its own like stream thing, or video or something. I don't know, but it's ridiculous. But again, I hope the strike goes well for the voice actors and you know, people who are being affected by the big corporations that don't want to comply and hopefully will comply sooner rather than later, because it's ridiculous that they negotiated for a year. I will say that they negotiated for like not even a year, like almost 2 years, and they couldn't like find an agreement for some reason. That's ridiculous. Like, you corporates are awful. I'm just sorry. I'm just gonna say it. You guys are awful. You drag your heels for no reason, even though you have the money and accessibility to pay, you know, the people you should be paying. It's ridiculous, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. You don't care. You're gonna sleep at night just fine, you know? But, again, you should be ashamed of yourselves, and, you know, I hope some karma comes after you at some point in time. Not good karma, bad karma. Comes to you at some point in time. You know, in some fashion. I don't know. So, yeah, there's that, but I don't know. I can go on and on and on, and there's so many other topics, and, you know, I'm sorry, so many, like, videos that cover this topic many a time over, in, you know, whether it be in the gaming industry, animation industry, God forbid animation industry is not doing too hot either, or just, like, you know, just other media in general. Like, this has been, like, well talked about, but I just wanted to go with it, all because I saw Totally Spies just getting a revival, and that's the thing that set me over the edge of this whole conversation, is that for some reason, God forbid. What world we live in, huh? But yeah, I don't know. I kind of wanted to talk about it because it was something that just came up in my feed, and I was like, you know what? That's a conversation starter right there, you know. So I'm gonna leave you with that, and obviously my voice is kind of going out a little bit anyway. Also, another reason why I didn't stream, because I was gonna try working a late night stream, but then my voice just went out yesterday too. So I don't know what's going on with my voice. I think it's been really dry here recently, and I think it's just like drying my throat out, so much more quicker. So there you go. Whatever, it's fine. I'm vibing. It's good. But anyway, but yeah, with that, I'm gonna end the stream here, though. Pretty much, I can, like I said, go on forever and never and ever. If you're more curious about the topic, I implore you to just do research on your own. I think of you know, just, there's so many, again, videos out there and video essays out there that probably have covered this topic probably way better than I have, you know, not just rambling on, but like actually making good points and you know, just showing a lot of good evidence of why, like, you know, this is like just not great for the industry right now in general. At least, I mean, in the sense that, like, you know, corporate, you know, are making money, but not like individuals themselves that way. At least that they should be. And also creativity in general just on all-time low. But yeah, with that, I hope you all enjoyed the stream though. If you like it, dislike it. Comment below what your thought. If you have any like reboots or stuff like that irk you or actually good or something, let me know. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So bye, guys.